So recently I had a couple of issues with Danny D, which was my small form factor. I'll leave links down in the description or something like that, just the videos, and maybe I'll link up top here. But I had some issues what I thought was the motherboard, but ended up being the processor itself. Well, after then having the bright idea to go ahead and rebuild Danny D, I put a 5600G, the Ryzen5 5600G. I put an RTX 3060 Ti that I had gotten finally from EVGA out of their queuing system. And when I got it, I was a little bit surprised because it was smaller than I expected it to be. It was only a 2-fan model, but it kind of hit me that I could probably put that in Danny D to rebuild him. So I took the Ryzen5 5600G, I took the RTX 3060 Ti, and right after I got done benchmarking the 3060 Ti, I stuck it in that small form factor. Well, I kind of explained and took you guys through the process in that video, but I never got a chance to do anything like benchmarking it. I did take it to my sister's when I was doing work on her computer and edited that video there on Danny D, but never really got around to seeing what kind of games it would play or how well it would do until now. Okay, so as I show you guys this, I did test. Obviously, my editing rig right now is set up with a 3700X. It's a Ryzen 7 3700X. It's got an RTX 2070 in it. I did test the RTX 3060 Ti in the same rig with the 3700X. And, of course, I put Danny D together using the 5600G and the 3060 Ti. I know that's a lot of numbers, but what I'm doing on these graphs is I show these benchmarks and all that stuff to you. The orange is going to be the combination of Danny D. That's the small form factor. That's what it's going to look like there. How my rig is currently with the 3700X and the 2070, that is going to be in green, and in blue will be the setup I did with my editing rig by putting the 3060 Ti in it to test that. So I went ahead and ran through my full slate of 7 benchmarks just to go ahead and check things out. I did not do any ray tracing. I did not do any DLSS. We should be able to get a pretty good idea of how it's going to work out. And that's not really, I mean, I'm probably not going to be doing a whole lot of that on Danny D anyway, but I wanted to get a good idea of how well it's going to play games when I take it on the road with me. Okay, so we start with Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and one thing we noticed for sure right off the bat is the 3060 Ti does better than the RTX 3070. Whether it's got the, it doesn't matter what processor, but the 5600 actually did pretty good here, and I was pretty surprised. But the overall star of the show was obviously the GPU at this point. When Borderlands 3, sort of similar, but you could tell that the 2 extra cores that are missing from the 5600G would have been really good to have here. So maybe if I go to a 5800X or end up going to a 5900X, that will change, but I'm not really sure I need that in a small form factor anyway. I'm losing a little bit, but you can tell that still that the 3060 Ti more than does its job. In Far Cry 5, you can tell that the 2 extra cores on the 3700X really outshine the 5600G here. It's only got 6 cores, 12 threads, and so it does fail to live up to that 8 and 16 that we get out of the Ryzen 7. But hey, it is what it is, and still, I mean, pretty darn good overall. With CSGO, I only tested on high because what other setting is there when you're doing CSGO? So I did it on 1440p and I did it on 1080, both on high, and you can see how that turns out. Where things start to get a little bit strange, Forza Horizon 4 overall looked very good, except for at the ultra setting on 1440p. That didn't quite measure up to the other benching, but still, I mean, pretty solid. I can't really complain there. World War Z made me very happy to have the 3060 Ti in that box because, I mean, really did pretty well there, and I can't complain at all. But everything is kind of brought back to reality when I'm looking at Horizon Zero Dawn, because whether it's the matter of the cores or the L3 cache, not being nearly as much on that integrated, the processor has integrated graphics in it. The 5600G does not have the same amount of cache on the CPU as that 3700X. That and the 2 cores it's missing really made a measurable difference, and you can visibly see in the benchmarks how big of a difference that makes. It's not going to stop me from enjoying the game. It's not going to stop me from playing, and it's certainly not going to make me want to go out and right now go change that and put a different processor in, but it was something that I did notice. And all of these benches, I benched it several times and took an average. So yeah, and I did it pretty much a blind test. I went through these, and I didn't have the other information in front of me when I did all these, so I wasn't able to do anything to compare until I actually started making these charts. Overall, I'm very happy. Now, I might not be able to get the bleeding edge frame rates or anything like that out of the monster in the box that I call Danny D, but it's going to be more than sufficient for what I do on the road. It's going to be great for editing. It's going to be great for gameplay when I want to do that. There's going to be times when I will use the smaller monitor, especially if I'm making several trips, although there will be times when I'll take a bigger monitor with me, either a 1440p, I might take a 1080p monitor. Usually it's going to be a 27-inch. But for all the quick trips and stuff like that, back and forth, and the portability of Danny D, it's going to be a 22-inch 1080p monitor anyway, so I'm not really that concerned about having bleeding edge graphics or making sure I can get 200 frames per second out of something. All these are going to hit. I mean, obviously, all of them are going to hit 70 or 80 or above, and I won't have any problem at all trying to get the highest frame rate that I want, or a very playable frame rate. And chances are I'm not going to be using ultra settings anyway. I'll just be using probably high, or maybe in some cases even medium, but it's going to be more than enough to be able to drive what I need to drive with it. And one of the things about trying to like edit and all that stuff, I mean, that's more than capable with that video card and that processor to be able to do everything I wanted to do. So even if I decide to go streaming somewhere, I do carry a webcam with me and all that, I can certainly do streaming, because with that RTX 3060 Ti, the NVENC encoder on that will allow me to stream on OBS, and the processor is more than enough to handle whatever I'm going to throw at it as far as gameplay. So, is it anything groundbreaking here? Anything earth-shattering? No, it's just information I thought I would go ahead and pass along and share, because I'm pretty darn proud of the monster in the box. Danny D, or 2, I guess we're going to call it, is more than a capable setup. I'm very happy that I was able to salvage that build when I really thought I was going to have to order a new motherboard, or I was going to have to swap out memory or something of that nature. And I was really glad to be able to salvage all that, or save all that, and that it was the 1700X that was the problem in the first place. Now, this is still, it's giving me the little reminder down in the bottom corner that wants me to upgrade to Windows 11. I'm not prepared to do that yet. If I do a video, it's going to be on my gaming PC in the other room, and I'm still kind of undecided and on the fence, because it has been such a pain in the tail end just to get that ready to be able to be upgradable. So we'll see what happens. We may or may not do that. Definitely not going to do that with Danny D yet. Don't even know if I'm going to make any other upgrades to Danny D, but if I do, I'll be sure to go ahead and pass that along and show you guys what the deal is. One of the next things I have to do is I have to benchmark the RX 6600 XT that came out of my sister's PC. I'm going to go ahead and benchmark that and pit that against the 3060 Ti, the 3060, and the RTX 2070 that I already have, and we'll share those with you as well. I'm not I will not do any ray tracing or DLSS or FSR or any. I'm not going to compare any of that stuff. It's just going to be raw frame rate that we're going to take a look at. We know NVIDIA's. We know that their RTX and their DLSS is much better, or especially their ray tracing. We know that it's much better matured, I guess you could say, than the AMD offering right now. So I'm not worried about that. What I am worried about, and what I am curious about, is the performance of those two in an apples to apples, frame rate to frame rate type comparison. So if you found the video at all entertaining, helpful, or anything like that, or just out of curiosity, if you enjoyed it, go ahead and throw a like on it. If not, you can throw a dislike. I get it. That's cool. I don't have a problem with that. But don't be afraid to visit me on those socials. If you're not already subscribed, please do. I would love to hit 500 by the end of the year so I can get on some of these affiliate programs. If you guys are interested, leave me comments or something like that, and I'll be glad to list whatever parts are in Danny D, in case you guys are curious about it. And I will also, I'll go back, maybe I'll list the parts that are in the other video as well. I've got a splash screen that shows what the parts are that are inside it, but maybe I'll put it in the description and links where you guys can find the parts. So you guys are gonna have to let me know. But until next time, probably sometime this weekend. But until next time, that's all I got. So I'll see you later.